Joseph emphasized that persons involved in the rearing of livestock need to think as
It is the intention of government to give deliberate attention to all levels of education from
watch in preparation for any eventuality. EMAP, the national
until the end brand who will actually make it true. Will the tables be turned?
Be money like at the top moon, but la Messi go hotel here, lay back.
City that appeals to locals and visitors alike is set to
as many as our opinions behind, as many as will be contrary opinions,
Hello and welcome to Issues and Answers, a production of the Government Information Service. I am your host for today, Jacques Kingston Compton. Rise St. Lucia is a non-governmental organization dedicated to encouraging the youth and improving them in this St. Lucia. In 2013, the organization created its first film festival as a means of showcasing our youth's talent in an emerging field. Here today with me, I have Colin Weeks, director of the Rise Film Festival, Mr. Kendall John, president of the Audio Visual Film Association of St. Lucia, and Ms. Kizwanda Alexander, participant in the Rise Film Festival. Good day to you all.
Good day.
Could you, Mr. Weeks, could you give us a little history of the Rise Film Festival?
Okay. Well, the Rise Film Festival have been done for 2 years now, and in 2015 will be our third year. It really started off because of, I would say, my love for film. Coming back and looking at ways of way we could develop youth and youth skills, I thought film would be an appropriate medium to do so. So because I've worked with Rise, the Rise community for a long time, that I decided to do this film festival with them. And so we came together and we put on this film festival. It is really there to empower youth in various ways. So that was the basis or the foundation of doing the film festival.
Okay, and what else do you hope to gain from the festival?
Okay, well, as I said, it's really there to empower youth. You would well imagine that film has various components to it, and I think it encompasses all the skills needed to groom a young person, or rather a person. And because of all the challenges that we found that was the youth were facing in society, basically after school activities, just grooming them in the right direction, we use film as that medium. We started off with workshops, which will basically give them that grooming, as I said, that grooming medium. The workshops will comprise of technical skills, vocational skills, oral skills, and that's basically why we use the festival to basically just groom those persons.
And will you have people in the industry helping with those workshops?
Oh yes, definitely. We have used, well, first of all, I should say that we do 8 weeks prior to the actual festival of workshops, and every Saturday for the past 2 years, which we've done the festival, that we've done the workshops, and we've used the AVFA and other skilled persons in the community to be able to teach them those various skills.
Okay, this is actually a question for both you and Mr. John. Although I understand the festival is still in its infancy stage, well, you have festivals such as Sundance in the US and Cuba Havana Film Festival and the Cannes Film Festival, but these festivals are known for leading independent filmmakers to distribution deals or just meeting other people in the field. Just what can participants or emerging young filmmakers hope to gain from this in regards to what other film festivals have offered before?
Well, what we're doing with this film festival is really use it as a grassroots program. We want to have that's why we have formed the AVFA to begin with. We want to have a viable film industry in St. Lucia, but as you would well imagine, we need to start it off from the ground and build up. So it's a medium of building or encouraging youth to get into that industry. One of the things that you know is that the youth themselves already are engaged in all various forms of visual activity, whether through their iPhones, through their camera phones, whatever. So we found it appropriate that we would just groom them in the right direction. What the film festival would do is either be able to have persons graduate into filmmakers, or give them the means and skills to be able to go into other avenues if so you wish, because as I mentioned before, that a film would encompass all skills, from accounting, from your business background to your, we need the caterer, we need the carpenter, we need, so we need everybody on board basically to do a film. And that's just the grooming aspect of it. What we would like to do from there is to create a bigger industry for persons graduating. So when you outside of the film festival, you will be able to, as I said, graduate into a professional field. And then so coming out of school, you wouldn't be green into the industry, but you would have a sense of the background and the do's and the don'ts of the film, of going into film. So that's basically why we did this. Mr. John?
Yes, I agree with what Conan said. First of all, it was really a grassroots movement, but we have a number of different festivals on island already, and this year seems to be the year where the festival seems to be coming out of the woodwork. We have about 3 and possibly 4 festivals slated for St. Lucia alone, and so Rice Film Festival was quite appropriately the first, and it's because you're targeting the youth, and now we're ready to graduate. We have the more seasoned filmmakers taking part in the other film festivals, and of course those persons who have started with Rise naturally form the natural nexus into the other film festival.
Does the film festival encourage people into the different, because filmmaking is a team effort, does the festival encourage the young people into the different aspects of filmmaking?
Well, I think anybody who's been on a film set would appreciate what each person's role is. That's one art form that is really a communal effort. I mean, when I was studying, I was accustomed to doing my CXCs and everything was on me. Everything is, I get the A, I get the B. But at the end of the day, when we went to the film class and they said, okay, now this is your group and work with them, and then you realize, boy, everybody depends on everybody else. And when you get through that process, the festival is really the end product where you showcase what you've produced, but it's very going through the process of putting together the film, and we sometimes rotate the roles, and so persons get a chance to learn different aspects of filmmaking. And so during that process, we're hoping that persons appreciate and find their niche when it comes to the actual filmmaking process.
Miss Alexander, what do you hope to get out of being a participant in the film festival?
Actually, the film festival sparked my real inquisitiveness towards film and photography and everything. With the workshops, it gave me more of an outlook of what I want to do. So, like, I'm not fully sure of if it's film exactly or just graphics. So,
that you want to do.
Yeah, but with the festival and all the different teachings that it gives us, it helps in giving you a path, basically.
So before this film festival, you've never really taken an interest in film before?
No, well, I used to just play with the camera, that's basically it. And then my sister encouraged me to go to the workshops, and that really drew me to it. So,
okay, and I suppose, well, in your case, a young filmmaker, I suppose looking at a lot of films, a lot of documentaries would help you understand a lot of the technical aspects. So
yes.
Maybe why things are done. That's another question I have actually. Does the workshop teach students why images are a certain way?
Oh yes, I mean, well, we are limited to time with the workshops to begin with. Because we only do it for 8 weeks and really and truly, really 8 days, because it's really 1 day per week. So we're limited time. But however, we try to touch on all aspects of filmmaking. And as Ms. Alexander just said, it really is to give you that pathway to what you would, your niche, what you would like to do or what you'd like to become.
Okay. Hold on to that thought, sir. We will return to that after the break. This is Issues and Answers, a production of the Government Information Service. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, have you heard about biodiversity? Do you know what it means? It's more than just a variety of plants and animals. It's about the natural link that all life on this planet share, including you and me. So if you do anything to harm this natural link, you're actually harming yourself in the long run. When nature is abundant, so are we. Think about this natural link, because what is done to our biodiversity is done to us all.
Welcome back to Issues and Answers, a production of the Government Information Service. I'm here with Mr. Colin Weeks, Director or Festival Director of the Rise Film Festival, Mr. Kendall John, President of the Audio-Visual Film Association of St. Lucia, and Ms. Kizwanda Alexander, a participant of the Rise Film Festival. Now, before the break, Mr. Weeks, we were talking about your workshops teaching the different aspects of visual storytelling. What comes to my mind, aspects of filmmaking such as rule of thirds, or what an image means. Do your workshops teach these things?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the workshops go through all the basics of filmmaking. And it would basically teach or give the students the opportunity, participants the opportunity to find a niche and in which areas they're strong points. As we already indicated, that film has a wide array of skills that would need to be incorporated to do it. So we're talking from your carpenters to your technical people. So yes, we do go through a whole array of all the aspects of filmmaking, from your business plans, your marketing plans, all those skills that you would need. And the reason, again, we use film is because it gives youth a good base, a good background, a good base to be able to move on to other things. They could eventually become filmmakers, but we're also giving them a grooming place to become whatever they would like to do.
So you do reiterate to filmmakers that the director's chair is not the only aspect of filmmaking that you should aspire to.
Definitely not. As Kendall indicated, that the first thing that you learn in doing film, it's a teamwork. It's teamwork. Mm-hmm. There is, in fact, one of the things that I found very amusing when I first started doing film out of St. Lucia, that nobody was addressed by Mr. or hardly anybody would be addressed by Mr. Mm-hmm. Because there is not that authoritative person, because everybody's basically on the same level.
A familiar environment.
It's a very familiar environment. So your director would be the first name to your gaffer or your sound guy. Everybody is on a first name basis, because if the sound isn't good, your film isn't good. If the director isn't good, your film isn't good. If the set looks lousy, your film isn't good. So everybody needs to be on par with what they're doing.
That's interesting as you would say that, because I remember a lecturer of mine from the UK would always say, without sound, you have nothing. Without good sound, you have no film at all. It's all the work you've done is basically just out of the window.
I mean, even one of the things that we say that if you're doing a film again, people might accommodate bad picture, but hardly anybody will accommodate bad sound. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, let's get to the more practical aspects of the festival itself. How would one join the film festival? When is the film festival?
Okay. The film festival is in April for the past 2 years. We did it as part of April because April is also Youth Month. So we took the opportunity to do that then. But we start off with workshops, as I indicated, and then we go into the award ceremony in April. To participate is simple. All we do is you create a film no longer than 15 minutes, and you present it as part of the film festival. The deadline is usually at the end of March. To give us enough time to be able to judge the films and the categories. But to enter, you contact us at the Rise Film Festival, and you're on your way.
Do you have different categories such as documentary, or experimental, or just normal, just ordinary
Well, what we
pictures?
have done for the past 2 years, since it's a grooming process, we have opened the doors in terms of genre, in terms of well, not necessarily length, but in terms of the different aspects of film that you want to produce. And so we haven't really pigeonholed anybody into their creative mind. So if you want to do a documentary, that's fine. If you want to do a music video, that's fine. But what we look for is that skill that's going to come out of the film. So the categories are basically your first place, second place, third place. We have done recent best performance in terms of male, female, and we've also done best script. But in the future, we hope to be able to have more categories to encourage more entries.
And are there prizes for the best film?
Oh yes, in fact, one of the things I would definitely like to touch on is to actually thank all the sponsors who have come on board. And for the past 2 years, Scott St. Lucia Unicoma has been our title sponsor. And they have given us to date, every year so far, in excess of $10,000 worth of prizes to present to the winning films. And so we have persons like COS coming on board, Digicel, who have been part of it. We also have SLASPER and a host of other sponsors, and I'm very thankful because without them, obviously, we would not have a successful run as part of the film festival.
Something that a lot of, I suppose, young filmmakers or people in general don't think about is the business side of filmmaking. Mr. John, do you yourselves teach the business side of filmmaking with the use of this festival? For example, a lot of independent filmmakers may have to learn how to source funding for their film, for marketing, for distribution, or learn how to approach distributors. Does a festival, or do you yourselves, through the workshops, teach filmmakers how to go about doing these things?
Okay, well, I think it's a very necessary part of it, of course, getting sponsorship and funding. The festival, as Colin said, that it only has about 8 days, so we try and just briefly touch on every part of the filmmaking industry. So we do cover it, but of course not in as much detail as we would like to. We can only speak, we try and bring experts in when on island, and they can have a word with the participants, or we can speak from our experience as to how to get sponsorship for certain things. We have persons on island who have created films. Of course, they haven't got big budget films, but they have somehow managed to get some kind of funding, and so those persons participate and pretty much guide those filmmakers about how they go through the process.
Interesting. And yes?
Yeah, I was just saying, and that's an interesting point that you brought up, because what has happened here is that graduation of persons. So where the Rice Film Festival is very much of a grassroots program, we would use other means and other workshops and other seminars and so forth to be able to discuss the more business level or business end of the industry. And that's one of the things we have encouraged, or we are able to bring in people to do so. We are now associated with the Rain Dance Film Festival out of London. There's also another project that we're working with the 72-hour project, and we're also working with our October Film Fest out of New York. So there's that simple graduation of persons. For example, Ted Standiford, who started off with the Rice Film Festival, have entered the October Film Fest and have won there. So, you know, you have that graduation, and from there he did workshops in exactly what you're talking about, to the more business, to the more professional level, and that's what we're hoping, that we open up the doors to a bigger industry.
Could you also speak a little bit about your involvement with the Jazz and Arts Festival? How does the Rise Film Festival relate? How are they involved? Sorry, with the Jazz and Arts Festival?
Okay, well, as I was just alluding, it's just basically that graduation of the industry. We started off with a simple Rise Film Festival for the youth, and now because of that grooming process, we like to open the doors to a bigger industry. We have the Peter Film Festival has happened. We have other film festivals who are interested, or other persons now outside now looking at St. Lucia as an industry. And so, but we want to have that background where we'll be able to accommodate them. And so we're looking at the Jazz Film Festival the jazz festival, sorry, as a platform to be able to introduce ourselves into film. So next year we're seriously looking at that time to create a bigger film festival as part of the jazz festival, where we'll again be able to talk to persons on a more professional level, on a more serious level, and encourage professional filmmakers to come down to St. Lucia to use St. Lucia as a hub for workshops and to open the region to the film industry.
Okay, we are actually due for a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Rise Film Festival and its partnership with the Jazz and Arts Festival. We'll be right back.
Stop, listen, and learn St. Lucia. Treat children with respect, understanding, and dignity. Remember, they will be the adults of tomorrow. I'm doing my part. You too can play your part.
Take responsibility for creating a child-friendly society. This message brought to you by the Early Childhood Services of the Ministry of Education and Culture.
Welcome back to Issues and Answers, a production of the Government Information Service. I am your host, Jacques Kingston Compton. We're here with Mr. Colin Weeks, Director of the Rise Film Festival, Ms. Kizwanda Alexander, participant of the Rise Film Festival, and Mr. Kendall John, President of the Audio Visual Film Association of St. Lucia. Now, Mr. Weeks, before the break we were talking about the Rise Film Festival's partnership with the Jazz and Arts Festival. Could you tell me a little bit more about the participation of other members of the region in terms of the film festival through the Jazz and Arts Film Festival?
Yes.
Festival.
Yes, definitely. Well, from day one, in terms of the scope of the festival, we always looked at it as a regional festival to begin with. Obviously, we have to start with St. Lucia, but we did encourage from the very first year students from the University of the West Indies, and they also have a film program there, and they did participate, and they have participated in the festival for the past 2 years also, and we do expect them to participate even further. I've spoken to Grenada, I've spoken to St. Vincent also to participate in the film festival, and we have encouraged other festivals. We have the Rain Dancing Festival, who's a big partner. Also, we have the 72 Hour Project. And so we're hoping to bring in all those skills into a bigger festival and use the Jazz and Arts Festival to be able to use that as a platform to bring in more professionals and to use this as a backdrop to develop the industry.
And Mr. John, I'm sure a concern that a lot of filmmakers would have is the region or even the island of St. Lucia, is it large enough to support an entire film industry?
I believe this time, when it comes to film, it's our time in the Caribbean. I think all the stories that have been told, either been from the European perspective, the United States perspective, and people really want to hear a different viewpoint and see something different. Right now, in sports, Jamaica, I mean, just recently, the first Jamaican lady to win a gold medal in breaststroke. And it's just say that we have the Usain Bolts, we have the athletics. I'm saying, like, okay, maybe this is time for the arts as well to take a leap and take center stage. I think this is the time. And I think once there's that interest, I'm hoping maybe we can get a sponsor like how Puma did for Jamaica athletics. But even if that doesn't come along, we just have to believe in our product and do the best we can and put it out there. And I think we'll create that audience. I think there's a natural audience for this kind of material, and there's a diaspora that will support as well. And I think once we have a worthy product, I think we can sustain it.
But how do you think we can stay competitive with other film industries? I know it's a bit of a stretch maybe to be competitive with Hollywood or the major industries, but let's say other smaller industries, how can we stay competitive with them? Because a problem that may arise is, I suspect, a language barrier, because if you look at foreign films that are showcased maybe in the US, they don't do as well as their local movies because of a sort of language barrier.
I think, well, there are a number of challenges, but I think we still have a product, even though with maybe language barriers, we have, I mean, subtitles. I mean, The Passion of the Christ was a movie totally in subtitles, and it did phenomenally well. And it's because after the end of the day, it's really about the story. And once the story is a well-constructed story, I think everything else falls into place. Technology is now becoming more affordable. True, we are still at the high end when it comes to cost, where the different arts are concerned, but it's definitely more affordable, and so our product is looking, you know, it's more competitive, and we're beginning to see that we can compete with the other countries. And it might not be the only thing about technicality, because I mean, Nigeria, there's something called Nollywood, and some persons will say that they, you know, the technical quality is not probably the best, but the bottom line is that they have a formula that works. And sometimes we might have to just look at that and say, okay, what can we learn from this industry and from that industry, and put it all together and see if we can use that to launch our industry the way we want to.
You mentioned the technical quality. Do you think, as the new crop of St. Lucian filmmakers, do you think they're there when it comes to technical quality?
I think we're definitely raising the bar. I think persons are seeing what's out there, and because of course the equipment is coming down, I see a number of persons with DSLR cameras, and that's pretty young guys. And so if that's what they're starting with, I'm confident that, you know, that the whole technical quality of our films will rise, and we'll be able to be competitive.
A problem I used to think that was unique to St. Lucia was a lack of support in the arts. That could translate especially into film. But in my stay in the United Kingdom, when I studied, I noticed that they also had a lack of support when it came to their own local films, which is why there were organizations such as the British Film Institute created that would help distribute and showcase their local talent. What do you think? Can anything more be done in St. Lucia?
There's a whole lot more that can be done in St. Lucia regarding film and the arts in general. And that's why we formed the ABFA, ready to become a kind of a lobbying body. Because sometimes, I mean, the government will be, you hear the cry sometimes, but from one person here and one person there. And I think, well, at the end of the day, we just come together and become a more united voice and speak to all the things and the needs of the industry. And so we're hoping that we've done some festivals and things of that nature where we encourage persons, our members, to come out and support your own filmmakers. And so that's what we're trying to do, to make sure that we're present and we're paying attention to the needs, and hopefully that eventually the call will be answered, and we can take the true potential of the film industry in St. Lucia.
But do you believe that, at least for now, in its infancy stage, the government should take a strong interest in the industry?
Yes, we've been lobbying the government, and I think it's one of these situations where, just like the banana industry, we did not leave it on its own to start. I think it's a case where we need some kind of government input to get it going, at least. And we're saying this is an investment. This is not just about giving money. This is an investment in an art that involves all the other arts. You know, we need writing for the scripts. You need drama, and you have theater in there. You know, there's wardrobe. All the arts are involved in this one art form called filmmaking. And so we think that if government would say, okay, well, we can see that this affects a large number of persons in the different fields and the different art sectors. I think they are hoping that they can realize that and get involved and support us the way the industry needs to be supported.
Okay, this question is for Miss Alexander. This is your first film festival?
Well, on my own, yes, but with my youth group, no.
Or your youth group has also participated in this particular film festival or others?
With this one.
Okay, and what has your experience been so far?
Well, it's a good learning experience because we have the different aspects. We have persons coming and speak to us about scripts and how to incorporate different elements into our scripts to make it amazing. And then we have persons to help us with the camera, how to do the lighting and everything. We had Joanna Frederick, who came to give us tips on the acting.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's been a great learning process. It's given each of us, especially my youth group, it sort of brought us closer because we're just starting out, and it showed each of us our own little knickknacks that we could do.
And Mr. Weeks, final words?
Yeah, one of the things I just wanted to mention from following up what she said, the first year, coincidentally actually, they have won Best Actress for the past 2 years. But the first year, another young lady from the group won, and she became the treasurer of the group after. Only because it gave her that confidence that she could aspire now to do other things. Because that was her first acting role, that was her first time doing a project like that, and boom, she won Best Actress. It kind of escalated her to do other things. The one of the things I wanted to touch on is that when we talk of the film industry, I know lots of people think of the Hollywood and the blockbuster type thing, but there's a whole new medium in terms of independent filmmakers and a lot of people making a living from lower budget films. So we're not all up in the clouds thinking that we want the next Hercules movie or the next Superman movie, but what we're basically saying is that if and we're talking small budget, which would be a $5 million project or anything less, we want to make ourselves available for that to be able to be the next economy of St. Lucia.
That is indeed a discussion that could go on for at least another hour, I believe. But unfortunately, we have to end here for today. I'm Jacques Hingston Compton of the Government Information Service, and this has been another episode of Issues and Answers. Please stay tuned to the National Television Network.
Joseph emphasized that persons involved in the rearing of livestock need to think as
It is the intention of government to give deliberate attention to all levels of education from
watch in preparation for any eventuality. EMAP, the national
until the end band, who will actually make it true? Will the tables be turned?
Money, like at the top moon, but la Messi go hotel here,
City that appeals to locals and visitors alike is set to
As many as our opinion